This is really scary stuff. Full-blown conspiracy theorists are about to be in charge of major levers of government. And Donald Trump is now admitting that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is indeed going to go into the vaccine autism conspiracy theory that has been debunked for decades. It's been debunked for decades, and they're going back to it. Listen to this exchange between Kristen Welker and Donald Trump about this issue.
Let me ask you about RFK Jr. He has obviously talked about his skepticism of vaccines. He's expressed opposition to childhood vaccines. Do you want to see childhood vaccines eliminated?
If they're dangerous for the children. Look.
So possibly?
When you look at some of the problems, when you look at what's going on with disease and sickness in our country, something's wrong.
Are you talking about autism?
Well, if you take a look at autism, you go back 25 years, autism was almost non-existent. It was, 1 out of 100,000. And now it's close to 1 out of 100.
Well,
I mean, what's happening? If they can find it. Now, I did something the other night that was a little unusual. At Mar-a-Lago, I called the drug companies, the top drug companies, and I called RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz and some of his people. And I said, let's all get together and let's figure out where we're going. Because we're going to do a lot of things. Number one, we're going to reduce prices because the middleman makes more money than the drug companies, in all fairness to the drug companies. There's a middleman that nobody even knows who they are. And you look at our drug prices, they're much higher than the prices for the same medicine, for the same stuff. So we met, and we met for a long time, and we talked about pricing, and we talked about vaccines, in terms of...
The meeting was so long that Making America Health Again Trump had 4 Diet Cokes and 6 Big Macs during the meeting. That's how long it was when he was focused on making everybody healthy.
What happens. We talked about pesticides. We talked about everything. And I think a lot of good things are going to come from him. And he's not going to upset any system. He's not going to upset this. He's not looking to, to reinvent the wheel totally. But when you look at the numbers, we really don't have a very healthy country.
Well, sir, going back 25 years, studies show that there is no link between vaccines and autism. And yet it sounds like you are open to the possibility of him looking
I'm
at
open to
getting
anything.
rid of them?
I think somebody has to find out. If you go back 25 years ago, you had very little autism. Now you have it. I mean...
Well, they say because they're better at identifying it.
1 in 100,000, and now it's 1 in 100. That's a pretty bad number.
So, the thing about merely being open to looking at vaccines and autism is that it's been looked into endlessly. They love to act like nobody can investigate that, but it's been investigated for decades. So let's kind of go through it. This all started in 1998 when this doctor named Andrew Wakefield published a study which claimed that the MMR vaccine, measles, mumps, rubella, caused autism. The problem with the study was that it was based on only 12 kids who had been hand-selected and brought to Wakefield, too small a number to prove anything, and the entire thing was flawed. It turned out Wakefield was being paid by lawyers suing vaccine companies. He had a financial motive to make vaccines look bad. And when other scientists investigated this, they tried to replicate the findings and they couldn't. A bunch of larger studies were done. No link between vaccines and autism. And before publishing the study, Wakefield filed a patent for a measles-only vaccine. Think of that. He stood to profit if people stopped using the MMR vaccine and switched to a measles-only vaccine, which, wow, he happens to have a patent for. And if parents turned away from the MMR vaccine, it would benefit him directly. That study on which all of this is based has been retracted. In 2010, the journal that published it retracted it, saying it's bogus. Wakefield lost his medical license for what he did. And what we now know is that decades of research involving millions of kids shows no connection between vaccines and autism. It's kind of hard to find something that's been studied more. And they love to frame it as, you guys don't want open inquiry. You don't want free speech. We've had it for decades. And the only thing we get out of bringing it up again is people saying, oh, damn, maybe there is something to that. I won't get my kids vaccinated. And next thing you know, we have another measles outbreak. Now, with the question of why rates are rising, Trump goes, it used to be 1 out of 100,000. Now it's 1 out of 100. We have a pretty good grasp of this. To some degree, the rate of autism may be going up. But you first have to understand, we have much better awareness and diagnosis. There are 10 or 12 kids I grew up with. In retrospect, they were obviously autistic. They were never identified as such. You know, when I was in elementary school in 1993, with the benefit of hindsight, as adults, they've now been diagnosed appropriately. But there just wasn't it reminds me of the Rain Man scene where Tom Cruise brings Dustin Hoffman and says, he's autistic. And the doctor goes, oh, he's artistic. What's wrong with that? It's sort of a joke, but that's a huge part of it. The diagnostic criteria has expanded to include people on different parts of the autism spectrum that weren't previously included. There are better services which earlier put kids in front of individuals knowledgeable to say, this is someone that actually may have autism. And yes, environmental factors. Parents on average being older, we're trying to understand if that increases the risk of autism. Survival of very premature babies that in the past would not have made it. Now they make it. Is that making it so that we are having a higher rate of autism in children who survive? We're exploring all of those things. There's no doubt. And people want to say, well, what about plastics? What about this? Explore all of it. But the MMR vaccine link to autism has been thoroughly debunked. And it's another one of these dangerous, just asking questions. Not all men's underwear is the same. With traditional underwear, the sticking and the rubbing are something many of us know all too well. But our sponsor, Sheath Underwear, puts it to an end once and for all. Sheath underwear is ultralight and breathable. You can barely tell it's there. But importantly, Sheath is uniquely designed with 2 pouches in the front that separate everything out, giving you an extra confidence boost throughout the day. Air can flow in between, keeping things dry and comfortable all day. No more sweating and sticking. Sheath underwear is the type of thing that's hard to fully appreciate until you've tried it. Try a pair yourself and you'll finally understand the level of comfort and morale that you've been missing out on. They come in a bunch of different designs. They have something for everybody. The quality is amazing, super long lasting, unlike the underwear you currently use, which you might have to replace every 6 months. Sheath is giving my audience 20% off with the code PACMAN. Go to sheathunderwear.com/PACMAN. The link is down below.